Hey there, welcome to Cards with Crystals, and my name is Noelle, if we haven't met before. And this is a brief introduction video as to why I read cards. So people ask me that all the time. I read cards because it makes sense in my world. For as long as I can remember, even as a little kid, I would just see things, feel things, hear things, know things. And it seemed like I would look around and say, does no one else see what's going on here? Like it was a little bit different in that way. But that's what I knew. And as I got older, growing up as a teen and having various experiences, I bought a tarot deck and I was about 18 years old. And I bought a tarot deck. And uh, I studied, I looked at that, I read that book and I highlighted and made notes and I would do readings for friends and I would be looking in the book with the cards and really trying to make sense of it. And I knew there was something there. I knew that I was onto something, but I felt like I was really missing something. And in retrospect, I think it was just the deck was too mature for me. The energy of the deck was too mature for what I knew. And I went to a place in Boston, in Quincy, south of Boston, called Reginas Tea House. And it was this house that had all these different rooms and different readers. And I saw this woman called Cece, and she was fabulous. And I remember sitting in the front room, it was a sunroom with her, and she pulled out playing cards. And I thought, playing cards? Well, is this a tarot reading? And she said to me, and when I sat down with her, there was this sort of kindred connection. And she said to me, I don't need to use cards. I do, otherwise I think I'd freak people out. And she told me how playing cards can match up with tarot and she had encouraged me. She said, you should read cards. You get this. And I said, I have a deck. I'm working on it. So years go by, get a little bit older, and I was in Long Beach, California, and I went to see this woman, Glory, and had a great reading with her. And the second time I went to her for a reading, she did my reading, and then she wrapped up the cards in the pouch, and she handed them to me, and she said, I'm being guided to give these to you. And I said, I can't possibly take your cards. And she said, no, you need to have this deck. So years later, I can appreciate when you are given that message to give somebody your cards or give someone a crystal that you have. It's pretty clear and it feels right. So I'm so grateful she did. And I took that deck and I took the book and I started working through it. And that deck was making so much more sense to me. And so I continued on, doing readings here and there. Well, I came to Bend, Oregon, and I went to see this woman, Barbara, and I was planning to separate from a relationship. In doing that, I needed to find a place to live. I needed to find a job. I needed to recreate everything. And I went to see Barbara for a reading. And again, you sit down with someone and there's just this vibe that you have. And we started talking about tarot, and I told her, yes, I work with tarot, learning it more and more. And she said, I have a class starting next week. Why don't you come? And I said, well, I'm separating. I have to find a job. I have to find a place for me and my animals. I think I'd be crazy if I took that class. And so I went home and I was meditating in my room and I said, yeah, I'm separating. I have to find a place to live for me and my animals. I have to find a job. I should take that class. I'd be crazy not to take that class. So I started taking her class the next week. And I can tell you, up until that point, it was like I had this of tarot. And after I took those classes, I it was like that. I had it. It made sense. The gaps, it was like there were little things that I just couldn't, I knew something else was there and I couldn't quite get it. And so I got it. And so I read cards because I enjoy it. I trust the cards. I have seen messages come from cards. I've seen cards fly out of decks. Just 2 weeks ago, I was holding a deck up to my heart, saying a prayer as I begin a reading, and I have the whole deck in my hand. And when I tell you that a card goes down, it's no joke, and it was just the most, of course, perfect card. So I trust that. And when I work with people and I give them information from the cards and I see their reactions, that's why I read. Because the message comes to people and it's generally not surprising and it's not something they weren't aware of. But sometimes it's that stuff that over the course of our life, over the course of our days, our whatever we're doing, we keep pushing things down. And what tarot does is it brings some of that stuff up. And if we can take some time and have someone point that out to us and say, if you consider this, then potentially you could do this, it helps. And so I see people leave after reading feeling empowered, feeling like what they had been thinking was just reaffirmed for them. And so that's why I read tarot. I think it's a good tool. It's a divination tool, and it gives some structure to messages that come through otherwise. And otherwise, people might think, who is this person that's just saying all these crazy things? Well, the cards help shape all of that. And so that's why I read cards. So I hope to see you. Come for a card reading, come for a live reading, schedule a reading with me, and I look forward to working with you. Thanks for visiting.